Hi guys, it's Siobhan the Dragon and welcome back to another crime video. So let's get to it. This is the case of Huang Na.
Welcome back to Crime Documentary Files. Today, we'll be delving into a case that shocked both China and Singapore. Huang Na, an adorable 8-year-old girl, mysteriously disappeared on the island nation. After her disappearance, thousands of people took part in one of the largest search efforts ever seen. And when the truth was finally revealed, the public was outraged by what the perpetrator had done. To express their sorrow, many people voluntarily attended her funeral, sending her favorite candy as a tribute. However, as the investigation unfolded, a surprising number of people began to sympathize with the perpetrator in a baffling turn of events. So, what was the final truth? We'll take you back to Singapore in 2004 to uncover what really happened. Singapore has long been regarded as an exceptionally clean, civilized country with the highest security standards in the region. But despite its safety, Huang Na, a young Chinese immigrant just 8 years old, suddenly disappeared, causing a media frenzy. Huang Na was born on September 26th,
So these types of international frenzies can really shake two nations at once, especially with a young girl going missing, a Chinese resident. This would have uproar in two separate nations, both China and Singapore. Let's find out more about Huang Na.
1996, into a modest family in China who worked hard to make ends meet. However, the reality was that Huang Na's family consisted only of her mother, as her father had left them to work illegally in Singapore as a fruit packer before she was born. During his time away, Huang Na
All you gotta do is
Oh, you've never used samples like this before. This is Arcade, the ultimate sample.
Na's father started an affair with another woman, ultimately leading to a divorce. A few years later, her mother found a new husband, and Huang Na had a younger half-sibling. By the time Huang Na was in the early years of elementary school, Singapore had introduced policies to support immigration in order to attract talent. Not wanting to miss out on the opportunity for a better education for her daughter, Huang Na's mother, Huang Shuying, discussed with her husband and agreed to send Huang Na to Singapore to study. This decision, however, cost the family a significant amount of money and effort. So, at just 7 years old, Huang Na followed her mother's arrangement and moved nearly 3,100 miles away from her hometown in Fujian to Singapore, where she enrolled at Jin Ta.
It's really, even though Singapore is quite near to China in terms of a geological perspective, it still costs money to move to another country, especially for a middle class or even lower income family like where Huang Na was from. It must have cost her mom and stepfather a lot of money to move to Singapore. But it seems to me that Huang Na's mom wanted a better life for her daughter, so they decided to move to Singapore.
High Primary School, one of the most expensive schools in Singapore at the time. Of course, no mother would feel comfortable letting her child live alone in a foreign place. So, Huang Na's mother decided to stay with her and occasionally flew back to Fujian to care for her younger child with her second husband. In this new country, Huang Na's mother made a living by opening a produce stall at a market near her daughter's school, and she also rented the space above the stall where the two could rest when needed. As her mother began selling produce, the people in the market and regular customers grew fond of the cheerful 7-year-old, always full of energy and with a sweet smile on her face. Knowing that her family's situation wasn't as fortunate as many of her classmates, Huang Na was exceptionally understanding and well-behaved. She never asked her mother for anything and became a source of emotional support, giving her mother the motivation to keep working. When they had free time to spend together, Huang Na would often tell her mother, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll study hard and become a doctor so I can earn lots of money and take care of you, so you won't have to work so hard anymore." But whether it was becoming a doctor or anything else, Huang Na would never have the chance to achieve her dreams. On September 27, 2004, after celebrating a cozy birthday with Huang Na, her mother, Huang Shuying, packed her bags for a 2-week trip back to Fujian to visit her younger child. During this time, Huang Na had to stay behind in Singapore to avoid missing school. Given Huang Na's unique situation, with her mother frequently flying between Singapore and Fujian, it was quite normal for her to take care of herself. She handled her own meals, bathed at public bathhouses, and even flew alone back home for summer vacations. Everyone who
It's still, even though she's an 8-year-old girl who can take care of herself and do things on her own, maybe even cook or, be independent on her own, it doesn't change the fact that she's still 8 years old. Like, to leave a child on her own alone, um, depending who she left the child with, it would be, some parents will not agree with this. I'm not a parent, I don't know, but I definitely, if I was a parent, I definitely would not want to leave my child alone in a foreign country without another family member over there, whether it be an aunt, a sister, a brother's family. Um, I wouldn't be comfortable leaving my child alone in a foreign country like that.
who knew the mother and daughter duo admired the independence and maturity of this 8-year-old girl. So, when her mother left for this trip, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary for the two of them. Before leaving, Huang Na's mother entrusted her daughter's care to a roommate named Li Shu Kan and gave her 100 Singapore dollars to manage her own expenses during the 2 short weeks. On October 10th, nearly 2 weeks after her mother had left, Huang Na sweetly told her aunt, Li Shu Kan, that she wanted to call her mom. Since this was a common request whenever Huang Na missed her mother, her aunt had no concerns about letting her go alone. Around 1:30 p.m., after
So this is a story that happened maybe about 20 years ago. So that's the reason why Huang Na had to go walk to a payphone. These days, we don't have to do that. If somebody wants to speak to their parents or whoever they want to speak to, there are cell phones readily available where you could video call people. But at this time, people were still using payphones.
After informing her aunt, Huang Na quickly went to the nearby payphone to call her mother. She skillfully dialed the number, and as soon as she heard her mother's voice on the other end, she excitedly began sharing everything that had happened in the days since her mother had left. She also mentioned that she needed an electronic English dictionary and a new pair of sandals, since her current ones were worn out. Her mother cheerfully agreed to buy these things for her and promised to bring them when she returned to Singapore. She also advised Huang Na to be patient for a few more days, as her work at home wasn't finished, and the trip might be extended. After a brief 6-minute phone call, Huang Na seemed a little sad, as she missed her mother terribly. As for her mother, Huang Shuying, if she had known this would be the last time she would ever hear her daughter's voice, she might have talked to her for a little longer. By around 2:30 p.m., an hour had passed, and Huang Na still hadn't returned. Li Shu Kan began to feel a sense of unease. How could making a phone call take
This
so
is
long?
the woman that's
A
taking
gut
care
feeling
of,
told her something
Huang
was
Na.
wrong. She immediately went to the nearby payphone where Huang Na had called her mother, but the little girl was nowhere to be found. A wave of fear slowly began to wash over Li Shu Kan, filling her mind with dread. She frantically searched everywhere, scouring the market where Huang Na's mother sold produce, and even went to her school, but there was no trace of the girl. Unable to bear the anxiety any longer, Li Shu Kan sought help from friends and acquaintances. More than 20 people joined the search, combing through nearby areas, but there was still no sign of her. Exhausted by 10 p.m., Li and the others finally turned to the police for help and informed Huang Na's mother in Fujian. Immediately, Huang Shuying dropped everything at home and caught the earliest flight back to Singapore to search for her eldest daughter. Once the police took on the case, they didn't waste a second, launching an investigation and interviewing those involved. According to reports, the last time Huang Na was seen was when she left home to make the phone call. She was wearing a jacket, blue shorts, and had short dark hair. Additionally, it was confirmed that Huang Na was just an 8-year-old girl with a sweet, cheerful personality. Her mother, since arriving in Singapore, hadn't had any conflicts with anyone, not even minor disagreements. Both mother and daughter were remembered by others as kind, gentle, and friendly, so the police quickly ruled out the possibility of her disappearance being an act of revenge. Furthermore, Singapore is very small, with a total area of only about 270 square miles, and Huang Na was very familiar with the surroundings where she lived, making it highly unlikely that she got lost.
Yeah, my friend who lives in Singapore says it takes 2 days. You could within 2 or 3 days you can explore almost the entirety of Singapore. So this is baffling that she could get lost, especially she is an 8-year-old child. So she probably knows the area quite well. She lived around the area. Her mom works around the area. It was nearby her school. I doubt she could have gotten lost.
After eliminating all other possibilities, only one scenario remained, the most dreaded one. Huang Na had been kidnapped. With the investigation strategy quickly established, the police began focusing on the wholesale market where Huang Na's mother worked, questioning everyone who was present that day. It wasn't long before they got their first lead on the missing girl. Ms. Lin, an employee at a cafe in the plaza near the wholesale market, told the police that she had seen Huang Na that afternoon. The girl was wearing a jacket and blue shorts but wasn't wearing any shoes. Ms. Lin said she asked Huang Na why she wasn't wearing shoes, but the girl didn't answer. She just smiled sweetly and skipped away. Several other people in the market also reported seeing Huang Na that afternoon. They said she had been with a man they were all familiar with. They agreed he was a young man, only in his early 20s, who wasn't particularly bright and worked a simple job packing goods. He frequently spent time with Huang Na and was very fond of her, treating her like his little niece. Following these leads from the market vendors, the police quickly found the young man, who was identified as Tuk Leng Hao, a worker who packed goods at the market. When the police informed him they were questioning him about the disappearance of Huang Na on October 10th, Tuk Leng Hao responded with genuine surprise. He admitted that he had seen her that day, and
What if I told you this was the last ad you would ever see?
I hope so.
Still here?
even gave her 2 mangoes,
No.
telling her not to wander around and to go straight home. Given his cooperative and honest demeanor, showing no signs of deception, the police gradually dismissed their suspicions and allowed him to go home. During this time, while the police were actively investigating, Huang Na's mother wasn't sitting idly either. For days after arriving on October 12th, she printed stacks of flyers with her daughter's face on them, handing them to every passerby on the street, constantly asking if anyone had seen or heard about her daughter. But that wasn't all. Huang Shuying didn't allow herself even a moment of rest. She searched construction sites and water pipes, tirelessly walking from dawn until long past midnight every day, never stopping, fueled by the faint hope that she might find her daughter and bring her home. During those relentless days of searching, a niece called Huang Shuying and told her about a strange dream she had. Huang Na is trapped on a mountain. Although it was only a spiritual or symbolic occurrence, and often these things have no real-world significance. In her desperate state, Huang Na's mother couldn't dismiss any possibility. For many days, despite being physically and emotionally exhausted, she carried her daughter's picture and her favorite teddy bear, hiking up the tallest mountains in search of her child. During this period, Huang Shuying was no longer alone in her search. Reporters followed her, but so did strangers, touched by the story of the mother and daughter who were willing to scour all of Singapore to help. At that point, nearly the entire country was involved in a large-scale search for Huang Na, attracting everyone from business people to retirees, taxi drivers, and many others. One person even offered a reward of 10,000 Singapore dollars for any leads.
Wow. This is a big video to react to. So I've split it into 3 parts. This is the first part, and the second part will be released soon enough. And then we're gonna do a third part after that. But so far, I'm interested to find out what happens to Huang Na, what happened to her, and I hope that the police or her mom or someone finds her. We just hope, and I'm looking forward to watching the next part of this crime documentary video. So guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.